Hey everyone, welcome to Gadgets 360. We're sure you're all curious about Samsung's brand new Galaxy M series smartphones, the Galaxy M10 and M20, which are meant to take on Xiaomi's Redmi series and popular models in the budget segment from Honor, Realme and Asus. We've got both the Galaxy M10 and the Galaxy M20 with us, and we're about to get our first look at them. So let's get to unboxing. So here we have the boxes for the new Samsung Galaxy M10 and M20. As you can see, they're pretty similar, but the M20 does look slightly larger even here on the box. What we can see is a full frame screen with a slightly thick chin at the bottom, and again the M10 has a slightly thicker chin than the M20 does. What you can't see very clearly are the two notches over here. Now Samsung calls this its Infinity V display, but we know it more commonly as a water drop style notch, and we've seen this before from many Chinese brands. So Samsung is finally using a notch on its phones, and this is what they look like. Let's first put the M20 aside and have a look at the M10. So we've already seen the front of it, and on the side of course we just have the name of the phone. On the back, a couple of the important specifications and a big Make for India logo. And without further ado, let's open the box. So right on the top we have a smaller cardboard box with, of course, a quick start guide, a regional lock guide, which means that the product should be activated with a SIM card issued from a mobile operator within India, and the warranty details. Nothing else in this little box. Then of course we come to the phone itself. Here we have it in what Samsung calls ocean blue. Peel off the plastic. That's our first glance at the new Samsung Galaxy M10. Let's try to power it on. There we go. And we'll set that aside while we look at what else is in the box. It seems pretty basic. What we've got here is a USB cable. That's micro USB, not USB Type-C, which we would have hoped for. We have a tiny little SIM eject tool right there on the bottom. And we have Samsung's 15-watt charger. Now let's put all of this aside while we unbox the Galaxy M20. So here we have the box for the Galaxy M20, pretty much identical. We have the name of the phone on the side, the important specifications, and the Make for India logo. Let's go ahead and break these seals. So let's quickly take a look at the box contents, which shouldn't be very different from those of the Galaxy M10. And we seem to have the same paperwork. Here's the phone itself in the same ocean blue color. And put aside. And we have exactly the same accessories here, except that we see that the USB cable this time is a Type-C cable. So that's one big difference between these two phones. So we have USB Type-C, a SIM eject pin right on the bottom, and the same 15-watt charger. So now let's set these phones up and get a proper close look at them. So now let's get a much closer look at both the Samsung Galaxy M10 and the Galaxy M20. This is the M10 on my left and this is the M20 on my right. And the first thing that you can see is that although they're pretty much the same size, the screens are quite different. Now the Galaxy M10 has a 15.8 centimeter HD plus display, and 15.8 centimeters is about 6.2 inches. And on my right we have the Galaxy M20 with a 16 centimeter Full HD Plus Infinity V display, so that's about 6.3 inches diagonally. You can see that the chin on the M20 is much narrower than the one on the M10. Now we have both these phones in Samsung's ocean blue color, and from the back they look pretty identical. But the one thing that immediately jumps out is that only the M20 has a fingerprint scanner, while the M10 does not. The M10 also has this speaker grill on the lower left corner, whereas the M20 does not. But we can see that the camera modules and the placement of the flash and the logos is pretty much the same on both phones. Looking at the right, we have the same power and volume buttons. And on the top, again, it's the same, there's basically nothing. On the left of each phone, we have the SIM trays, which will pop out. And on the bottom is another big difference. As we can see, here's the M20 with the speaker grill on the bottom. Because the M10 has it on the back, there's nothing on the bottom. And the M10 has a micro USB port, while the M20 has a USB Type-C port. And both of them, which people will be happy to note, have a 3.5mm audio socket. So here's a quick look at the SIM tray on the Galaxy M10, which we can see has 2 slots for 2 nano SIMs plus 1 big slot for a micro SD card. And here's the identical configuration on the Galaxy M20. So we're sure people are curious about the new water drop or Infinity V notches that Samsung has designed for its new Galaxy M series smartphones. And you can't really see them very well with these default wallpapers, but just let's pull the shades down. We can immediately see that they do in fact have pretty much the same water drop shape that we've seen from several Chinese brands before now. This allows Samsung to have screens that fill up pretty much the entire front faces of its phones, minus the chins on the bottom of course, and they do look pretty modern. So speaking of the notches, let's talk about the front cameras first. While the Galaxy M10 has a 5-megapixel f2.0 front camera, the Galaxy M20 has an 8-megapixel f2 front camera. So while these two phones have different front cameras, the specifications at least of the rear cameras are basically the same. So you can see that the camera modules look pretty much the same, and in fact both phones have 13-megapixel f1.9 primary rear cameras and 5-megapixel f2.2 secondary rear cameras with wide lenses. The Galaxy M10 is of course the more affordable of these two models, and it uses Samsung's Exynos 7870 SoC running at 1.6 GHz, and we've seen this processor several times before in some of Samsung's J series and A series smartphones. On the other hand, the Galaxy M20 uses the brand new Exynos 7904 octa-core processor at 1.8 GHz. Now this processor has just been launched a few days ago, and it hasn't been seen in any previous smartphone, but it's meant to provide a premium multimedia experience for mid-range smartphones. The Galaxy M10 will come with 32 GB of internal storage and 3 GB of RAM, while the M20 has 64 GB of storage and 4 GB of RAM. The last major point is that the Galaxy M10 has a 3400 mAh battery, but the Galaxy M20 has a massive 5000 mAh battery. Both phones say they support fast charging. What that means is they come with a 15-watt charger, which should work pretty quickly. So while the M20 seems to have the better specs all around, one interesting thing to note is that because of the differences in the batteries between these two, the Galaxy M20 is a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier than the Galaxy M10. So if that's one of your primary considerations when buying a phone, you might find that you lean towards the M10 because it's lighter and easier to carry. So that was our quick unboxing and first look at the brand new Samsung Galaxy M10 and Galaxy M20. Do stay tuned to Gadgets 360 for our full reviews coming up very soon, in which we'll talk about these phones' performance, display, battery life, cameras, and much more. Thanks for watching, and for all things tech, stay tuned to Gadgets 360.